that about, he's just like, so, I mean, I've known this guy for 13 years, man. And he's like, yeah, so something just sounds kind of funny. And there's that long pause, man. And he's trying to be so nice to me.
Isn't that the worst?
And he knows what...
Right, that's the worst possible thing that could happen when you gotta make that adjustment. Yeah.
Right, it's hilarious. And the camera, my buddy Peter Larkin, dude, he got some amazing video for me. Is amazingly right there to capture that moment. I'm so glad he is, because it's just so
that's
real.
Awesome.
Man. It's not like I suck or anything. It's just that, like, that 14-inch floor didn't sound that good.
Yeah.
And so CV goes and sits down and fixes it for me. So between that, or like, get me to experiment with some different cymbal and snare textures on, say, like the R&B tune, or he had a great idea with giving Alan a stride piano solo in an insensitive like Ladies, the John Durr tune that, like, Alan just plays the hell out of. And then doing in Christie's, Pure Imagination, reimagination, how do you like that? Having her and Alan just kind of vibe, out front, because he knows them very well. I mean, that's really how they were involved, is, through CV. Is Alan Johnson and Christy. So, and the two of them play together all the time. So, the way in which they're able to read each other to do this intro is just so incredible. And so just him knowing that was great. But I did have, I'll say, at least, down to like the record packaging and the way that the album looks, and the font. I mean, that kind of thing. Like, I really do have that level of involvement and sort of attention to detail. Like, I did really see the whole thing, how I wanted it to be. And I'm really pleased that it's come out, how I couldn't have hoped for better, for sure.
Let's talk about the podcast.
Yeah.
You're going to have an 8-episode arc in this podcast, this being one of the episodes. And we're going to meet different members of the band and talk about the music and actually listen to some of the music as well in the upcoming episodes. Tell the listeners what they can expect.
These are some of my best friends. I've already talked to Charles, I've talked to John, I've talked to Elad, I've talked to Mark. I need to talk to Chris, so these are all my homies. So in a way, it's very easy. But I mean, we have some great conversations. I think that the other thing that's beautiful about this band is that it spans generations. For those of you that don't know, like, John Durr is kind of a heavy cat. Like, if you're into jazz or into music, I mean, you should really check him out. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but for the sort of awe factor that it will provide, he's really the guy that, like, helped form Dave Matthews Band, because he was playing at Miller's at the time, right? Like, Dave was tending bar back then. Leroy used to play in John's band that played at Miller's, and so did Carter Beauford. And so these were all just like the cats that were in Charlottesville, Richmond area back then, like 80s, in that time. But like, even before then, man, I mean, and he's had that gig for 30, 40 years. Like,
that's amazing.
He continues to just play at such a high level, and he's just such a deep person, man. He's really like a spirit. I mean, he's a lot of things to me too. He's a mentor, as a musician. He's like sometimes he's a father, sometimes he's a brother, sometimes he's a friend. Like, same thing for Charles. Charles is, I want to say, in his mid-40s. John is almost 70. Charles is in his mid-40s. He spent a dozen years living in New York City. Elad is my age. Chris is the baby of the band. He's, I want to say, 3 years younger than us. And then Alan, I want to say, is in his 40s, mid-40s. And then some of the guests, I mean, Antonio Hart I want to say, just turned 50. Christy, is 30. Mark's about my age. Braxton is young, early 20s. So there's a lot of, I'm really lucky to know a lot of folks. And that's just kind of the beautiful thing about music, is that, it transcends generations and they all contribute something special. But man, I mean, Charles it was great to talk to Charles about, some of the things that he did in New York. It was great to talk to a lot about, growing up in Israel and then, like, living in the U.S. in different places. Like, he lived in New York when he was pretty young, which has always kind of been wild to me. Like, when I lived there, and, you see those lines of kids where they're grabbing onto the rings or they're like buckled into the line, like if they're at school, and they're 3 years old. And I'm just like, man, that would terrify me.
Yeah.
To have those kids out on New York City streets to be like walking around.
Yeah, these New York City kids, they're a different breed, my brother. They're a totally different breed.
You see that. I didn't want to go into the ones that you see on the subway. We'll leave the more innocent images. in our viewers' heads.
We'll leave that for another podcast.
Right. It's just kind of wild to be, it's cool to talk to him about being a kid in New York and growing up like that, or to talk to Chris's mom. Chris Monson's mom is the director of the music department at George Mason University. I mean, she's an incredible classically trained pianist, so Chris grew up taking piano lessons. That's part of why his ears are so big. So to get to talk to him, about that, I mean, I'm just really lucky, that for the people that are willing to, put in that extra mile and help me do what I need to do. I'm trying to get the word out. That's why I'm talking to you right now. That's why hopefully you are listening to me right now. And hopefully why you will, if you can do one thing, it's just tell somebody about the record. Tell somebody that you think who might like it. Hopefully it'll make their day a little better. No matter what tune they put on, there's kind of a tune for a lot of different moods on here.
Jack, let's talk specifics. Let's get release dates. Let's get websites. Let's get album release parties. Let's let the listeners know where they can find you, where they can see you, where they can follow you.
So, man, let me get out my laundry list of all these places, because I'm tasked now with remembering so much more than my chromatic major scale and sort of my, the form of the blues and all these other sort of little musical elements that we remember. I've got to remember what is my website is jackkilbymusic.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Jack Kilby Music. You can follow me on Twitter at that same handle, but you won't find me saying much there, because it's just kind of, you can really just find me on Instagram and Facebook. The Facebook page is, if you search JK Frontline, you'll find us. Jack Kilby on the front line. My Bandcamp page, if you want me to get, a little more of my cut for the record, and you want to buy the record on Bandcamp, you can find it at jackkilbyandthefrontline.bandcamp.com. Where else? It's streaming on Spotify and iTunes, and I guess I should also add that the Volume 1 release date is Friday, October 5th. So I'm very excited about that. It'll be on all the major streaming services, like I said, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Tidal, if you use it. And then Volume 2 is coming out in January, on January 11th. And I might have a single come out before then. I'm not really sure. There's one song on Volume 2 that I really love. I might put that one out early. So you'll follow me there and you can hear more about that. And, if you find me on those pages, you'll be able to find all the people in my band, the Frontline specific Instagram, since I know Instagram is just so popular now, and it's especially for musicians, you can find it at Jack Kilby Frontline. Again, Jack Kilby Frontline, Jack Kilby Music. You won't find me saying much on Twitter. And then JK Frontline on Facebook. And yeah, I just hope y'all enjoy the music and tell a friend. It's at least so fortunate that it's very risk-free right now. It's kind of like, do you want to go to dinner for free? Like, hey, you want to try this music? There's absolutely no commitment to it, because you can go stream it for nothing.
That is so hilarious. I get it. I love that. Like, I love it. It's like a no risk date. Just like, hey, you want to try some music? Yeah. Like that's. I think that we're going to use that to replace Netflix and chill. Hey, you want to listen to some Jack Kilby? Like, that's going to be the new.
Or do you want to go to the front of the line?
You want to go to the front of the line. There it is. There it is. Jack, it's been my pleasure. It always is. Let me just end this, if you don't mind, by saying to you how absolutely proud I am of you, and how happy I am to know you, and how blessed I am to be a part of your journey. I see nothing but good things for you in the future, and great things for you in your career. So just keep on, man. I'll tell you, to the listeners, I've heard cuts from this album. It's an amazing album. You're going to love it. Just listen, and indeed, please do tell a friend, because they'll love it too.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate you listening to me ramble. And if you didn't like listening to me, you might like listening to my bandmates. So, tune in, stay tuned. And thanks so much for those kind words, Tomas. And I really hope you all do enjoy the record.
A lot can happen in 6 seconds. A rodeo ride, a dramatic basketball win, and the world record holder can solve a Rubik's Cube. 6 seconds is how long it takes for an 18-wheeler traveling at a safe speed to come to a complete stop. And in those 6 seconds, that truck will travel the length of 2 football fields. So please, give them room. Never cut in front of a large truck for any reason. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov. Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.